Hey everyone, and welcome to RPG Horror Stories with D&D Doge. In today's video, we have a story about a player in a Star Wars tabletop RPG that insists on playing a different version of Anakin Skywalker in order to play out his own erotic fanfic. A story about a Dungeons & Dragons dungeon master that uses the game to play out his own cougar fantasies, and much more. So, without further ado, let's get right into these cringe RPG horror stories. Chaotic Good Anakin Skywalker by Reddit user Miles Finch Prower. So about a year ago, my dungeon master was running a Star Wars tabletop RPG at our local game shop. He didn't know the rules as well as he probably should have, and kind of filled in the blanks with D&D knowledge when in doubt. But overall, he did a good job. The main problem? He was a paid DM, and that led to him being a bit of a people pleaser. Enter that guy, our 6th player of the campaign. Yes, 6 players. While most of us were playing as original characters, like me playing a Nemodian bounty hunter, but who was working for the Republic during the Clone Wars, my sister kinda injected some D&D into it by playing as an elf Jedi who struggled with the temptations of the dark side. Then we had a Nemodian smuggler, Nemodian bounty hunter's brother, a Twi'lek Jedi, and a Chiss military officer. And then, that guy, who was giddy at the fact that it was the Clone Wars, so he said, "I'm rolling up Anakin Skywalker." And the DM was like, "Anakin? He's already low-key an NPC. He's kind of important, since this is the end of the Clone Wars." And he responded, "He isn't gonna be like Anakin from the movies. He's more of a chaotic good version of Anakin. He sees through the lies of the Jedi and Sidious. He lives by his own rules and does what needs to be done. He is gonna be the one to truly bring balance to the Force." And DM just kinda allowed it, as if he were Smash Bros. Recolor Anakin in a game with the actual Anakin. Literally, that guy even said, "He will have dark red robes and a green lightsaber to distinguish him." But the DM still made him weaker, because we were all starting at level 1. But of course, he didn't want to hear that. So this campaign spans a couple of planets, from Naboo to Anaxis to Mustafar, and even sequel trilogy and KOTOR planets like Manaan or Jakku. We were involved in Clone Wars battles, including some the DM got from the show, secret missions, diplomacy, and even role-playing and visiting towns. Quote, Chaotic Good Anakin initially seemed tolerable. He was quick to draw his lightsaber, but a lot of our game was very combat-oriented. But then he would always take it right up to the line, even during sessions that were supposed to be more light roleplay. When people didn't cooperate with him, when he finds someone to be suspicious, like a common criminal or a magistrate who is kind of a dick, he would accuse them of being aligned with the Separatists, the Jedi, the Sith, etc., and harass and interrogate them. He would use mind tricks, threaten them with his lightsaber, or in some cases, straight up kill them if he could find a justification. So chaotic good. And this was just the beginning of the campaign. He would eventually get worse. It started off as him monopolizing dialogue, making it about his mission to, quote, end the Jedi and Sith, and change the nature of the Force to free the galaxy, whatever that means. He would also pout about how much he loved and missed Ahsoka, and how she should be by his side, yada yada yada, and how Obi-Wan is a punk ass, and a beta male, a servile cuck of the council. He had some colorful opinions on Obi-Wan, to say the least. Well, that is rich, coming from someone playing Anakin. I really started to see things go really downhill when he, out of the blue, decided that clone troopers were evil and that he hated them. one unruly trooper charged into battle too early against some droids on Jakku. He ended up winning the battle, but he was reckless, so chaotic good Anakin summarily executed him. We were all like, WTF, as this was his most brazen act of murder. He claimed, "I know the will of the Force, and it's showing me not to trust these effing clone bastards." DM told him that nobody knows about Order 66, and he just said, "The Force has given me bad vibes about them. My Anakin may not know about Order 66, but he does know clones aren't to be trusted. Plus, he was insubordinate and effectively a traitor. I had my reasons. Think of it like what happened with Pong Krell." Yeah, nice comparison there. Pong effing Krell. I'm just going to pretend that I know who that is. He also was contemptuous of other Jedi the whole campaign, but he eventually got to a point on Coruscant when he murdered a Jedi in cold blood, after said Jedi called Ahsoka selfish for leaving the Order. This was only after he prodded him about Ahsoka, mind you, and he justified it by saying, "Nobody talks about my girl that way." And we were all like, WTF again, as we, all in character, were now fuming at him and telling him that we will be in so much trouble and that we aren't murderers. And he just said, "It's not murder if they don't find the body. Now help me hide it." And Republic guards were coming, so we hit him. And then, right after we hid the body, he also demanded a side quest to find Ahsoka in the underbellies of Coruscant, because I can sense she's there. Again, metagaming. And then, if you didn't think his obsession with Ahsoka was weird enough, he eventually says that, "Once we find each other, we will make love in the deepest, darkest pit of this planet." Okay. Now it just seems like this dude is using the game to play out some sort of erotic fanfic. DM just said, "Oh, and no, you're metagaming again. You don't even know where Ahsoka is." That guy then starts getting furious and going on about how his entire character arc hinges on it, and DM is trying to calm him down, but that guy is dead serious. But eventually, quote, compromises and says, "Fine, we should go to the underbellies of Coruscant because we don't know what's down there. For all we know, Dooku could have secret droid factories down there." The rest of the party did not want to go, but he was not budging. So DM, as I said, he really wanted to make us all happy, agreed to split the party. Well, the rest of us went on a smuggling mission to an asteroid and found a secret darksaber that was created long after the original. It was an interesting plot hook. But as we were doing that, chaotic good Anakin metagamed his way all the way down to the exact level of Coruscant Ahsoka was on. Quote, "Looking for droid factories," basing it off his knowledge of the Clone Wars show. This was, ironically, making his story increasingly lame, especially as the rest of us had to sit there and watch this schmuck reenact his cringe fanfic of a reenactment of Clone Wars Season 7. Once he found Ahsoka, he killed the Martez sisters because out of game, he hated the Martez sisters. And in game, he just claimed that they were probably separatists. I'm going to go ahead and pretend that I know who the Martez sisters are as well. He then started trying to roleplay Ahsoka and saying, "Anakin, you came back for me." And then he said, "Ahsoka and Anakin kiss passionately," as DM interrupts him and says, bro, I control Ahsoka, and she's not doing any of that." And he says, "What? No, I control Ahsoka since she is part of my backstory." And DM reminded him that he is basically a completely different Anakin, isekai'd into this world. DM really didn't want to argue with this guy, but letting him metagame just to roleplay this was a bridge too far. He then got enraged and claimed that this is a fake Ahsoka and attacked her. She fought back, and she was still a higher level than him, so he was getting walloped in the fight. And out of game, he was becoming increasingly pissed. He was already accusing the DM of being unfair and railroady, and everything else. So DM eventually decided to just basically say F it, as he realized he cannot please this man, and had Ahsoka jump up onto a factory ledge beneath a toxic, boiling industrial sludge. As she said, "It's over, Anakin. I have the high ground." To which we all laughed at the reference, except that guy, who was now basically screaming at the DM. He then said, "I using hands to jump at the bitch and stab her," as he jumped right into that with like 3 HP left. He rolled for the jump that he was attempting, and rolled a natural 1, so tripped and fell into the sludge, and burned up. Poetic, I guess. In real life, that guy was now even more furious, and effectively throwing a temper tantrum in the game store, as DM realized that this guy was done, so he let him rant about how he set me up, and denied my player agency, and even saying, "I ought to beat you to death," until the owner of the store had enough of it and kicked him out. The next week, we moved on, went on a massive quest to uncover the mystery of this new Darksaber, and basically turned chaotic good Anakin into an inside meme for our group to make fun of. Well, I can see how the Game Master would get tired of constantly trying to please this player, while still maintaining a semblance of control over the game. Now, I'm not too versed in all the Star Wars lore, and never watched the Clone Wars, so a lot of those references went way over my head. But it sounds to me like that guy was trying to rewrite things the way he thought they should have went. Heck, the Game Master even let him make a bizarro Anakin murder hobo. But I guess when that guy tried to erotic roleplay with himself as Ahsoka, which had to be a trip to witness, that just pushed the Game Master over the edge of trying to please this dude. At least that guy got himself kicked out of the store due to threatening the Game Master, and him, OP, and the other players were able to continue the game and have fun. But before we get into the next few stories, here is Luna patiently waiting for a treat. She's so polite, and if you would like to help her get more treats, you could always like and share the video, as the better the channel does, the more treats we can afford. But with that manipulation tactic said, let's get into the following story. Creepy DM sends my character to prison, by Reddit user OKRegister6404. This is from several months ago, when I joined a D&D group that a friend recommended to me. We had a 4-person party with a cleric, a ranger, a sorcerer, and a fighter. My sorcerer was named Pearl, and was the only female player character in the group. She also had the noble background. On session 1, the DM mentioned that Pearl was 48 years old, which was strange since I hadn't specified her age. But other than that, everything went pretty normally for the first few sessions, and I must admit, I was enjoying it. Not that my enjoyment lasted. So basically, what happened is that the DM railroaded the whole party into doing something that's apparently illegal in the in-game city we were in, but none of us, the players, knew that it was illegal. For some reason, Pearl was the only member of the party to be caught, and was arrested by the city police. An NPC who was helping the party suggested to the ranger that if Pearl goes to prison, he could get a job as a prison guard to keep in contact with her and potentially get her out. Sure enough, Pearl ended up being sent to prison, and the ranger got a job as a guard there. This is where I started to see things going downhill. though I didn't yet realize that it was a sex thing. At the time, it just seemed like a way to remove player agency. For starters, the prison was a modern prison, rather than a medieval one, despite the game being supposedly set in the Forgotten Realms. Immediately, Pearl got strip searched, and to make matters worse, the DM had the Ranger player character conduct the search. The person playing the Ranger was clearly uncomfortable throughout the whole experience, as you might expect. The DM went into a lot of detail in his descriptions of the search, with a fetishy emphasis on Pearl's age. The DM then made me roll a saving throw to determine whether or not Pearl would maintain her composure during the search, and basically, the rest of the whole section was just DM's sexual fantasies. Every single one of the other prisoners was a middle-aged human woman, and Pearl ended up sharing a cell with Jennifer Beals. No joke, the DM just inserted Jennifer Beals herself into the campaign. And since Pearl had a noble background and was used to a life of luxury, the DM fetishized the whole fall from grace aspect, talking about how difficult it was for her to adjust to being a prisoner, given the life that she was used to. At the end of the session, Pearl was being visited by her husband. I didn't write him into Pearl's backstory. The DM just abruptly added him, and the DM made me roll another saving throw to determine whether or not Pearl would maintain her composure, or whether she'd cry from the embarrassment of her husband seeing her in an orange prison jumpsuit. Needless to say, that was my last session with this DM. Well, all that crap was oddly specific. From the DM stating how old OP's character was, to having the party do something that their characters should have known was illegal in the city. Seriously, character knowledge is a thing, and if the players don't know something that their characters would know otherwise, the Dungeon Master should tell them, or at least make them roll some checks, like intelligence or history. But I digress. Then, for the DM to only have OP be the one arrested and put into a prison of all female humans of the same age just screams that the DM had a cougar fetish or something. Not to mention making another player perform the strip search, which, I mean, that's also messed up. And what was with the Jennifer Beals thing? And who is Jennifer Beals? Overall, it was obvious what this DM was doing, and OP did the right thing by leaving that game, as I don't think that there's any communication that can fix that situation. So, what do you think? Let's move on to the next post. Party won't let me flirt with an NPC since I'm a woman playing a male character. By Reddit user KnowledgeBusy4175. I'm a 22-year-old female and have been playing a campaign with 4 others for a couple of months now, 3 males and 1 female. It has been mostly great, with a couple of issues that get resolved fairly quickly, until the last few sessions, where there has been a problem that's been irking me. We are a party of 4, 2 male and 2 female. All of the other players are playing as female characters, but I am playing a male character. More recently, the party has been dabbling with romance and flirting with the NPCs, which everyone was comfortable doing. I never really did it to begin, mostly because I just didn't want to, but I didn't mind the others doing it. Whenever a player flirted with an NPC, it felt like the DM would let it be a success no matter what, as people rolled 4s and 5s and were still successful. I decided to give it a go as well, and flirted with a female NPC. I rolled a 16, but the DM said I failed the check. I found this odd, since all the other party members easily passed. I questioned why, and they just told me, "Now you know what it feels like to be a man in real life," and just laughed. I tried again a bit later, but it still seemed like the DM would not let me succeed, and their response was the same. This made me a bit annoyed, and I don't really know how to feel about it. What should I do? TLDR, DM won't let me successfully flirt with NPCs as a male character, even though all the other party members successfully flirt playing female characters. Yeah, it seems like this DM hasn't had much success in the dating department, and has taken it out on OP with the response that he gave her. Either that, or the DM has a crush on OP and got denied when asking her out. Either way, this sounds like it's the DM's issue, and OP is just taking the heat of it. Or it could just be a joke. If anything, I would say something to the DM, like you get the joke, but that you would like to romance an NPC, and find it unfair that the other players are able to, but you aren't. Hopefully, this will fix the issue, and the DM was just joking around. Let's move on. Player tried to solo stealth through an entire arena. By Reddit user, Lord of Stop Signs. I was running my normal campaign in my homebrew world. One of the players has substantial memory loss. One of the ingredients that they need for a potion grows inside of the area. The party started making plans, reconnaissance and subterfuge, renting a room close to the arena, talking to the local herbalist, that kind of thing. One of my players gets bored of planning, and he decides to sneak in past the guards. The party begs them not to go alone. Let's wait a day at least. All of this fell on deaf ears. After half a dozen insanely lucky rolls, we're talking about 3 nat 20s in a row, followed by 2 19s. After this, I had to look up if it was possible to fudge your rolls with Roll20. He rolled away from the table, and I instituted a visible roll only after this. He snuck successfully into the arena with 400 spectators, found the plant, picked a few, and then just laid down in the grass for the next 4 hours. The player was really upset that he got caught after some 20 plus people spotted him and told the guards. After failing to fight a dozen guards, he tries to bribe a guard, kills another, and he was taken in and set to be tried. When he sees the judge, he tries killing him. It doesn't work, and he's sentenced to death. Now, he's complaining that I made the encounters unbalanced, and he's, quote, being punished for doing dope rogue shit. The other players are annoyed with him for taking 40 minutes in real life of solo time and fudging this whole thing up. 2 actually cheered when he was sentenced to death. Now, he's refusing to play unless I retcon something else. Am I being unreasonable? I feel like his actions were very stupid, and he's just getting his just rewards. Even if he got caught stealing from the arena, they were going to cut off one hand. But he also thought that was biased against rogues. TLDR, Rogue snuck into a highly guarded area, laid in the grass, and got caught. Resisted every guard or authority figure he met. Went from losing a hand and got sentenced to death. The player is upset. I'm not gonna lie, it was kinda hard to narrate that one with the way it was written. But anyway, it sounds like this player did kinda step on all of the other players, as everyone was making a plan, and the rogue just kind of Leroy Jenkins'd the whole thing. And sure, he got lucky with a bunch of rolls and made it into the arena, which that whole situation had me confused, as OP stated that Rogue was using Roll20's dice roller, but rolled away from the table? I'm not entirely sure what that situation was. But anyway, I think OP needs to learn how to say no in some situations. Like, a DM can flat out state that certain things would be impossible to do. But OP let the rogue do it, and it ended up biting Rogue in the butt. Perhaps the rogue should have let the guards take him, and there could be an arc of the party figuring out how to break him out of the dungeon. That way, Rogue would have a consequence by sitting in a cell and still being able to stay alive and keep his hand. Though overall, to me, it sounds like both OP and Rogue need a bit of work. First, it sounds like Rogue needs to learn how to be more of a team player and realize that it's not just the Rogue show. And second, OP needs to learn how to put their foot down when it comes to characters being able to do impossible things. Though those are just my thoughts. What do you all think on this one? But that is all I have for you today. As always, I appreciate all of you, and hope that your games remain horror story free. Until next time.